The ship shook hard. Lights went red. Alarms screamed through every hall. Captain Park Dury held tight to her chair as the Sejong came out of the jump. But something was wrong. Very wrong. The stars outside looked different. The maps on the screens showed nothing they knew. "Where are we?" she asked, her voice calm even as her heart beat fast. Kim Tae-ho, her first officer, worked quickly on his console. His face grew pale. "Captain, I do not know. We are not in any space I have seen before. The jump drive. It failed. It sent us somewhere far. Very far. The Sejong was an exploration ship. It carried 2,400 human scientists, engineers, soldiers, families. They left Earth 6 months ago to explore new systems. Now they floated in darkness, lost and alone. Can we jump back?" Park Dury asked. Yoon Hannah, the chief engineer, shook her head. Her hands were dirty with oil and her eyes were tired. "The drive is broken. It will take weeks to fix. Maybe months." Park Dury nodded slowly. She had been a soldier for 30 years. She had faced death many times. But this was different. They were not just lost. They were trapped. "Find out where we are," she ordered. "And find out if anyone else is here." They did not have to wait long for an answer. 3 hours later, Cho Min-ho, the navigation officer, called out in shock. "Captain, something is coming. Something big." On the main screen, a shape appeared. It was a space station, but like nothing humans had ever built. It was massive, bigger than 10 cities put together. Lights covered every part of it. Ships flew around it like insects around a lamp. "We are being scanned," Tae-ho said. "They see us." Park Dury stood up. "Open a channel. Let us say hello." The screen changed. A face appeared. It was not human. The creature was tall, covered in green and brown scales like a lizard. Its eyes were yellow with black lines in the middle. It wore armor that looked old and powerful. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "Unknown vessel. You have entered sovereignty space. I am Commander Vosk of Station Prime. Identify yourselves." Park Dury stepped forward. "I am Captain Park Dury of the human ship Sejong. We come in peace. Our ship had an accident. We mean no harm." Vosk tilted his head. His mouth opened, showing sharp teeth. It took Park Dury a moment to understand he was smiling. "Humans? I have not heard of your kind. You are small, weak-looking." He made a sound like laughter. "No matter. You will submit to classification." "Classification?" Park Dury asked. "The galactic sovereignty rules this space. We have ruled for 9,000 years. All species must be classified. Strong species become citizens. Useful species become servants. Weak species become..." He paused. "Resources." The bridge went silent. Everyone understood what he meant. "You will give us your ship," Vosk continued. "Your people will be tested. Those who are useful will live. Those who are not..." He smiled again. "We do not waste anything." Park Dury felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her face calm. "And if we refuse?" Vosk laughed openly now. Other aliens behind him laughed too. "One small ship against the sovereignty? We have millions of warships. Trillions of soldiers. You cannot refuse. You can only obey." He leaned closer to the screen. "I will give you one rotation of the station to think. Say goodbye to your freedom, little humans. Tomorrow you belong to us." The screen went dark. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Then Shin Yoonji, the tactical officer, spoke. She was young, but her eyes were hard. "Captain, what do we do?" Park Duri looked around at her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, but she also saw something else. She saw anger. She saw pride. "We talked to the crew," she said. "All of them. Everyone gets a vote." That night, every human on the Sejong gathered in the Great Hall. Park Duri stood before them and told them everything. She told them about the sovereignty. She told them about classification. She told them what might happen if they surrendered. Then she asked them one question. "Do we kneel? Or do we fight?" The vote was not close. It was not even a real vote. As soon as she asked, voices rose up from every corner. Fists hit tables. Feet stomped on floors. The answer was the same from every throat, every mouth, every heart. Fight, fight. Park Duri felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She raised her hand, and the room went quiet. "Then we fight," she said. "We may die. We probably will die. But we will die as free humans. Not as slaves. Not as resources. Free." She looked at her people, the scientists who had never held a weapon, the engineers who built machines of peace, the children who did not fully understand what was happening but felt the fire in their parents' hearts. "Prepare the ship," she ordered. "We have one night to become warriors." That night, no one slept. Yoon Hana and her engineers turned mining lasers into weapons. Cho Minho studied the alien ships, looking for weaknesses. Shin Yoonji trained anyone who could hold a weapon. And in her small room, Park Duri sat alone and thought about Earth. She thought about blue skies and green trees. She thought about her daughter, now grown, who she might never see again. But she did not regret her choice. Humans had always been stubborn. They had always fought against the darkness. And tomorrow they would show this sovereignty what that meant. The night passed too quickly. When the station's light rose again, Commander Vosk sent his message. "Your time is over, humans. Surrender now." Park Duri's answer was simple. "Come and take us." Vosk sent 3 warships. He thought it was too many. He thought one would be enough. But he wanted to make a show of it. He wanted the whole station to watch as the strange little humans were crushed. The warships were each 5 times bigger than the Sejong. They had weapons that could break moons. They had shields that could stop asteroids. Their crews had fought 100 battles and won them all. The humans had mining lasers and a ship built for science, not war. It should have been over in minutes. It was not. 3 ships coming fast, Cho Minho said, his voice tight but steady. "They will reach us in 4 minutes. Park Duri sat in her captain's chair. Her hands did not shake. "Hana, are the weapons ready?" "Ready as they will ever be." Yoon Hana's voice came through the speaker. She was down in engineering, surrounded by her team. They had worked all night. They had done the impossible. These lasers were made to cut rocks. Now they cut ships. "I hope, Yoonji shields?" Shin Yoonji checked her screens. "We have shields, but they are not military grade. They will not last long against real weapons." Park Duri nodded. She knew all this. She knew they would probably die. But dying was not the same as losing. "Minho," she said, "you know what to do." Cho Minho smiled. It was a wild smile, the smile of a man who had nothing left to lose. "I fly fast. I fly crazy. I do not let them hit us. Good." Park Duri looked at the screen. The 3 warships were close now, big and dark and terrible. "All hands, this is the captain. Hold on to something. This is going to be rough." The first alien ship fired. A beam of red light shot across space. Minho threw the Sejong sideways, and the beam missed them by meters. The ship shook hard as Minho pushed the engines beyond their limits. "Returning fire," Yoonji shouted. The mining lasers, changed into weapons, struck the first warship. They were not as powerful as real weapons, but Hannah had done something clever. She had made them burn hotter than normal. Much hotter. The laser hit the warship's hull and burned through it like fire through paper. Air and bodies flew out into space. The warship shook and began to spin. On the station, Vocht watched with wide eyes. "What?" he whispered. "How?" The second warship fired. This time, some shots hit. The Sejong screamed as holes appeared in its side. 20 humans died in seconds. But the ship did not stop. The ship did not run. Minho flew between the two remaining warships, so close that they could not shoot without hitting each other. The Sejong's lasers fired again and again. The second warship's engines exploded. It began to fall toward the station, dead in space. The third warship turned to run. "Do we chase?" Yoonji asked. "No," Park Dury said. "Let them go. Let them tell others what happened here." The bridge was silent. Everyone was breathing hard. Some were crying. Some were laughing. They had won. One small human ship against 3 warships of the mighty sovereignty. They had won. But Park Dury knew this was not the end. This was only the beginning. She was right. Within an hour, Vosk sent a message to the Sovereignty High Council. He demanded more ships. Many more ships. He told them about the humans. He told them these creatures were dangerous. He told them to send a full battle fleet. While they waited for the fleet, something else happened. Something Vosk did not expect. On the station, millions of aliens had watched the battle. Most were not citizens of the sovereignty. Most were slaves. The Rin were small beings, about half the size of humans. They had soft gray skin and big dark eyes. For thousands of years, they had served the sovereignty as servants. They cleaned. They cooked. They did whatever they were told. They had forgotten how to fight. They had forgotten how to hope. But watching the humans, they remembered. The Tolek were huge creatures, 3 times the size of humans. They were strong enough to lift ships. The sovereignty used them for heavy work. They broke rocks. They built stations. They died young because the work was so hard. They hated their masters, but they did not know how to fight back. Watching the humans, they learned. That night, a young Rin named Peli did something very dangerous. She took a small communication device and sent a secret message to the Sejong. "Human ship." Her voice was quiet, afraid. "This is Peli of the Rin. I am a slave on the station. I saw what you did. We all saw. Please. I want to help you." Dr. Beek Jisoo was the one who answered. She was the ship's doctor and a scientist who studied alien life. Her voice was kind. "Hello, Peli. We hear you. How can you help us?" "A fleet is coming," Peli said. "Many ships. Too many for you to fight. But I know things. I know where the weak points are. I know the patrol times. I know the codes." Jisoo looked at Park Dury. The captain thought for a long moment. This could be a trap. The sovereignty could be using this Rin to catch them. But looking at the small gray face on the screen, at those big scared eyes, Park Dury made a choice. "Tell us everything," she said. For hours, Peli talked. She told them about the station's shields. She told them about the slave quarters. She told them that millions of aliens on the station wanted to be free, but were too scared to fight. "If you fight again," Peli whispered, "we will help. But you must promise us something." "What?" Park Dury asked. "If you win, do not become like them. Do not make us slaves. We have had enough masters." Park Dury felt something break in her heart. She thought about human history. She thought about all the times humans had been cruel to each other. She thought about slavery on Earth, about wars and hate and pain. "I promise," she said. "If we win, you will be free. Not our slaves. Not our servants. Free." Pelly was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, stronger. "Then we will fight with you. When the time comes, we will be ready." The communication ended. Park Dury looked at her tired crew. "Get some rest," she ordered. "The fleet will be here soon. And when it comes, we will not be fighting alone." Outside, in the darkness of space, the Sejong floated near the station. Small and damaged and alone. But inside, 1,553 humans were still alive. Still free. And now they had friends. The war was about to begin. The fleet came on the 5th day. 47 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They filled the space around the station like a wall of death. Each ship was built to destroy. Each ship had killed before. On the bridge of the Sejong, the crew watched in silence. Even Cho Minho, who always had a joke, said nothing. 47, Shin Yoonji whispered. "We cannot fight 47. Park Dury stood at the window, looking at the fleet. Her face showed nothing, but inside her mind was working fast. "No," she said slowly. "We cannot fight them. Not with weapons." Kim Tae-ho turned to her. "Then, what do we do?" Park Dury smiled. It was a strange smile, small and dangerous. "We do not fight with weapons. We fight with words." She walked to the communication console. "Open a channel. Not to the fleet. To everyone. Every ship. Every station. Every slave quarter in this whole sector. I want every being in 100 light years to hear what I say." Taeho's eyes went wide. "Captain, that will make them very angry." "Good." The channel opened. Park Dury took a deep breath. Then she began to speak. "This message is for every slave, every servant, every being who has ever been told they are worth less than another. My name is Park Dury. I am the captain of the human ship Sejong, and I am speaking to you from the door of death." Across the station, aliens stopped working. In the slave quarters, the Rin gathered around speakers. In the work yards, the Tolek put down their tools to listen. 5 days ago, my ship arrived in this space. We were lost. We were alone. We meant no harm. But the sovereignty gave us a choice: become slaves or die. Park Dury's voice grew stronger. We chose neither. We chose to fight. One small ship against their warships. And we won. Not because we are stronger. Not because we have better weapons. We won because we would rather die free than live as slaves. On the station, Pelly felt tears running down her gray face. Around her, other Rin were crying too. But they were not tears of sadness. Now 47 warships have come to destroy us. We will probably die today. But before we die, I want you to know something. Something the sovereignty has tried to make you forget. She paused. The whole sector was listening. You are not weak. You are not worthless. You are not resources to be used and thrown away. Every one of you has the right to be free. Every one of you has the power to fight. The sovereignty has ruled for 9,000 years because no one believed they could stand against them. But that is a lie. The only power they have is the power you give them. Vosk was screaming at his officers. Stop this. Block the signal. But it was too late. The message was everywhere. It could not be stopped. Today, my people will fight. We will probably die. But we will die showing the galaxy that the sovereignty can be hurt. They can be beaten. And if one small ship can make them afraid, imagine what millions of you could do. Park Dury's voice dropped to almost a whisper, but somehow it felt louder than before. Stand with us. or watch us fall. But know this, we will never surrender. We will never kneel. And if we die, we will die with our eyes on the stars and our hearts full of hope. Because hope is the one thing they cannot take from you, unless you let them. She took one more breath. This is Captain Park Dury of the Sejong. To the slaves of the sovereignty, the door is open. All you have to do is walk through. The message ended. For a moment, nothing happened. The fleet hung in space. The station was quiet. Then the chaos began. In the slave quarters, Pelly stood up. Her voice shook, but she spoke clearly. You heard her. Are we going to watch them die? Or are we going to fight? An old Rin shook his head. We do not know how to fight. We have no weapons. We have our hands, Pelly said. We have our numbers. We have our anger. The sovereignty has made us afraid for 9,000 years. I say it is time to make them afraid of us. She walked toward the door. For a long moment, no one followed. Then a young Rin stood up. Then another. Then 10. Then 100. In the workyards, the Tolek were rising. One of them, a huge female named Gore, picked up a metal beam that was meant to be part of a new building. She looked at the sovereignty guards watching them. For 9,000 years, she said, her voice like thunder, we have built their empire. Today, we tear it down. The guards tried to shoot. The Tolek were too fast, too angry, too many. On the Sojang, Shin Yunji watched her screens in disbelief. Captain, the station is fighting. They are attacking the guards. They are taking over sections. Park Dury allowed herself a small smile. Then we should help them. Pelly, can you hear me? Pelly's voice came through, breathless and scared and excited. I hear you, Captain. Where are the shield generators? Section 7, Level 4. But there are many guards. Not for long. Park Dury turned to her crew. Anna, take a boarding team. Get to those generators. Shut them down. Yoon Hannah grinned. She had been waiting for this. Yes, Captain. She grabbed a weapon and ran for the shuttle bay. 30 humans followed her. They were engineers and scientists, not soldiers. But they had learned to fight. The shuttle flew to the station. The guards were busy with the riots. They did not see the humans coming until it was too late. Hannah and her team fought through the halls. Rin and Tolek saw them and joined them. By the time they reached the generators, they had an army of 100. The generators were huge machines that created the station's shields. Without them, the station would be open to attack. But more importantly, without them, the sovereignty fleet would have to be careful. They would not want to destroy their own station. Shut them down, Hannah ordered. Her team worked fast. Sparks flew. Alarms screamed. Then the generators went dark. Outside, the sovereignty fleet saw the shields fall. The commander was confused. What was happening? Why would the slaves attack? This had never happened before. While they tried to understand, the Sejong attacked. Cho Minho flew straight at the largest warship, guns blazing. It was crazy. It was stupid. It was exactly what no one expected. For Earth, Minho shouted as the lasers hit the flagship's bridge. The confusion in the fleet turned to panic. Some ships fired at the Sejong. Some fired at the station. Some fired at each other by mistake. In the chaos, more slaves rose up. More guards fell. More sections of the station were taken. Vosk tried to run to his ship. Yoon Hannah found him in a hallway. He looked at the small human woman. She was dirty and tired and bleeding from a cut on her head. But she was smiling. You cannot defeat the sovereignty, Vosk said. His voice was not confident now. It was scared. We have ruled for 9,000 years. Hannah raised her weapon. Everything ends. The shot echoed through the hall. And across the sector, for the first time in 9,000 years, the slaves were free. The battle ended at midnight. The Sovereignty fleet was broken. 20 ships destroyed. 15 captured. 12 ran away into the darkness of space. The station was free. Millions of slaves were dancing in the streets, crying tears of joy. But on the Sejong, there was no celebration. The ship was dying. Holes covered its hull like wounds. Fires burned in 3 sections. The engines made sounds they should not make. Hannah said they had hours, maybe days, before the whole ship fell apart. And the cost was worse than the damage. 847 humans were dead. Park Dury walked through the ship, looking at the covered bodies. She knew every name. She had eaten with these people. She had laughed with them. She had promised to bring them home. Now they would never see Earth again. She stopped at one body. The cover was pulled back. Cho Min-ho lay there, eyes closed, face peaceful. He looked like he was sleeping. He had died a hero. When a Sovereignty flagship had targeted the civilian section of the station, where thousands of Rin children were hiding, Min-ho had flown the Sejong's last shuttle straight into it. He had given his life to save strangers he had never met. Park Dury touched his cold hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry, I could not keep you safe." Kim Tai-ho found her there. His face was gray with exhaustion. Blood stained his uniform, some of it his own. "Captain," he said softly, "the council is waiting." Park Dury nodded. She covered Min-ho's face gently, then followed Tai-ho to the meeting room. The room was full of aliens. Peli was there, her small gray face serious. Gore the Tolik was there, taking up half the room with her massive body. Other species were there too, beings with feathers, beings with scales, beings with no bodies at all, just floating lights. 12 species. All of them had been slaves. All of them had fought. All of them were looking at Park Dury. "Captain," Peli said, "we have won a great victory. But we know it is not over. The Sovereignty will send more ships. Many more. They will try to crush us." Park Dury sat down heavily. Her bones ached. Her heart ached more. "I know," she said. "We cannot run," Gore rumbled. Her voice was deep like an earthquake. "My people cannot run. We are too slow. We have no ships." "We cannot hide," said a feather being named Kiri. "The Sovereignty knows where we are. They will find us. So what do we do?" asked a being of floating lights. Its name was impossible to say in human language. Everyone looked at Park Dury. She was quiet for a long moment. She thought about Earth. She thought about her crew. She thought about Min-ho, who had given everything. Then she spoke. "We fight." The room went silent. "We cannot win against the Sovereignty," Kiri said carefully. "They have millions of ships. Trillions of soldiers. They have ruled for 9,000 years, Park Dury finished. "Yes, I have heard. But they ruled because no one fought back. Now someone is fighting. That changes everything." She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the damaged station floated in space. Alien ships moved around it, carrying supplies, carrying wounded, carrying hope. "The Sovereignty is strong," she said, "but they are not loved. Every species they have conquered hates them. Every slave dreams of freedom. We showed them that freedom is possible. That message is traveling across the galaxy right now. Slaves on 100 worlds are hearing what we did. Some of them will rise up too." Peli's eyes were bright. "You think others will join us?" "I know they will. Not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But they will. And every species that joins us makes us stronger." Park Dury turned to face the council. We form an alliance. Free species working together. We share technology. We train soldiers. We build ships. But we have so little, Gore said. And they have so much. They had so much, Park Dury corrected. We just took a station. We just captured 15 warships. We have weapons now. We have a base. And most importantly, we have something they do not have. What? Asked the floating lights. Park Dury smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a soldier who knows the war will be long and hard. We have nothing to lose. The sovereignty fights to keep what they have. We fight for everything we never had. That makes us stronger than any weapon. The council was quiet. Then Pally stood up. I believe her, the small Rin said. My people have been slaves for 4,000 years. We forgot how to hope. Then one human ship arrived, and we remembered. If they can teach us to hope, they can teach us to win. Gore nodded slowly, her huge head moving like a mountain. The Tolek will fight. We have been building their empire for too long. Now we will build something for ourselves. One by one, the other species agreed. That night, the Free Alliance was born. Over the next weeks, things moved fast. Dr. Beek Jisoo worked day and night, healing humans and aliens together. She learned their bodies, their medicines, their pain. In return, they learned to trust humans. Yoon Hannah shared human technology freely. She taught alien engineers how to build better engines, better weapons, better shields. Some of the older officers questioned this. If we give them everything, Taiho said, what makes us special? Hannah shook her head. The sovereignty rules by keeping secrets. They make species fight each other so no one fights them. We do the opposite. We share everything. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us better. Shin Yoonji trained soldiers. Former slaves who had never held a weapon learned to shoot, to fight, to survive. She was hard on them. She had to be. The enemy would not be kind. But she also taught them something else. She taught them why they were fighting. You do not fight for me, she told a group of young Rin. You do not fight for humans. You fight for your children. You fight for a galaxy where no one is a slave. You fight because you are free, and freedom is worth dying for. The alliance grew. Messages came from other systems. Other species wanted to join. They sent ships. They sent soldiers. They sent hope. But the sovereignty was not sleeping. In their throne world, far across the galaxy, the High Council met. They were the 12 most powerful beings in the sovereignty, ancient, cruel, and very angry. This has never happened, one of them hissed. Slaves do not fight back. It is not in their nature. Then change their nature, another said. Send a fleet. A real fleet. Not 40 ships. Send 1,000. Burn them all. The council agreed. The order was given. 1,000 warships began to move. On the station, which the Alliance now called New Dawn, Park Dury received the news. 1,000 ships, Taiho said, his voice hollow. We have maybe 30 that can fight. Park Dury looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, death was coming. Then we have work to do, she said. How long until they arrive? 6 months. Maybe less. 6 months. It was not enough time. It would have to be enough. Call the council, Park Dury ordered. We need to build a fleet. We need to find more allies. We need to prepare for war. She paused at the door and looked back at Taiho. And Taiho? Find me a new ship. The Sejong has earned her rest. It is time to build something bigger. She walked out into the hallway, where humans and aliens worked side by side. The war was coming, and they would be ready. 6 months passed like water through fingers. The Free Alliance worked without rest. They built ships from the broken pieces of their enemies. They trained soldiers from the ashes of slavery. They turned a damaged station into a fortress of hope. And on the day the Sovereignty fleet arrived, they were ready. Park Duri stood on the bridge of the Guangao, the Alliance's new flagship. It was built from 15 captured warships, welded together by human engineers and alien workers. It was ugly. It was strange. It was the most powerful ship the Alliance had. Around her stood her crew, but they were not all human anymore. Qin Taiho was still her first officer. Yun Hana still ran engineering. Shin Yunji still commanded weapons. But now Peli stood beside them, wearing the uniform of an Alliance commander. Otherin worked at consoles. Tolek guarded the doors. A dozen species served together on one bridge. "Captain," Taiho said, his voice tight, "the fleet has arrived." The main screen showed them. 1,000 Sovereignty warships spreading across space like a dark cloud. Each ship was bigger than the Guangado. Each ship wanted them dead. Park Duri looked at the enemy. She felt no fear. She had passed beyond fear months ago. "How many ships do we have?" she asked. 312, Yunji answered. Crewed by 32 species. 300 against 1,000. The numbers were bad. But numbers were not everything. The Sovereignty commander's face appeared on screen. He was an old creature, covered in dark scales and golden metals. His name was Grand Admiral Vordak, and he had commanded fleets for 300 years. He had never lost a battle. "Rebels," he said, his voice full of disgust. "You have made the High Council very angry. They have sent me to end this foolishness. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Park Duri stepped forward. "Grand Admiral. I am Admiral Park Duri of the Free Alliance. I have an offer for you instead." Vordak laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You? Make an offer to me? You are insects. You are nothing." "Maybe," Park Duri said calmly, "but we are free insects. And we have a message for your High Council." She paused, letting the moment stretch. "You offered us slavery. We chose war. You offered us death. We chose to live. You ruled for 9,000 years because no one believed they could stand against you. We are here to show the galaxy the belief was wrong." Her voice grew stronger. "This is not a rebellion. This is a revolution. And it will not end until every chain is broken. So come, Grand Admiral. Bring your 1,000 ships. Let us see who is nothing." She cut the communication. On the bridge, no one spoke. Then Peli, small and gray and once a slave, began to laugh. It was a bright sound, full of joy. "You really know how to make them angry," she said. Park Duri smiled. "Good. Angry enemies make mistakes." The battle began. The Sovereignty fleet attacked like a hammer. They expected to crush the rebels with one blow. They had done it 1,000 times before. But the Alliance did not fight like their old enemies. Human tactics mixed with alien knowledge. The Rin, who had served on Sovereignty ships for centuries, knew every weakness. The Tolek, who had built those ships, knew where to hit them. Species that had hated each other for generations now fought as one. Yun Hana's voice crackled through the speakers. "Engines at full power. Shields at 120%. I told them it could not be done, but I did it anyway." Shin Yunji called out targets with calm precision. "Focus fire on their command ships. Take out their leaders. Let them feel confused for once." Cho Minho was gone, but his spirit was not. A young human pilot named Beak Somi flew with the same wild courage, leading a squad of fighters through the enemy lines. The first hour was terrible. Alliance ships died in flashes of light. Thousands of beings perished in the cold of space. The sovereignty pushed forward, confident in their strength. But then something changed. The alliance did not break. They did not run. They kept fighting, even when hope seemed lost. And the sovereignty, who had never faced an enemy like this, began to feel something they had forgotten: fear. On the Guangero, alarm screamed. A direct hit had killed 20 crew members. Fire burned in 3 sections. But Park Dory stood firm. "Status report," she called. "We have lost 87 ships," Taiho said. "But they have lost 203. Their command structure is falling apart. Half their captains are dead." Park Dory nodded. "Then we push. All ships, attack formation. Hit them with everything we have." The Alliance fleet surged forward. It was a desperate move, a gamble that could end in total destruction, or in victory. The sovereignty line broke. It happened slowly at first. One ship turned to run, then another, then 10. The Grand Admiral screamed for them to stop, but his voice was lost in the chaos. The Alliance, smelling blood, attacked harder. Gore led a boarding party onto the Grand Admiral's flagship. The Tolek were tired of building. Now they were ready to destroy. Vornik tried to escape. He ran through the halls of his own ship, past the bodies of his guards, toward the escape pods. He did not make it. Gore found him hiding in a storage room. The great admiral of the sovereignty, conqueror of 100 worlds, was shaking with fear. "Please," he begged. "I surrender. I will give you anything. Just let me live." Gore looked at him with her ancient eyes. She thought of her parents, worked to death in the mines. She thought of her children, born into chains they did not choose. She thought of 9,000 years of pain. "You can keep your life," she said slowly, "but you will spend it in a cell, watching the galaxy become free. That is worse than death for someone like you." The Grand Admiral was taken prisoner. When the battle ended, the sovereignty fleet was broken. 500 ships destroyed. 300 captured. 200 ran away into the darkness. The Alliance had lost 150 ships, half their fleet. But they had won. On the Guangado, Park Dory sat in her captain's chair. She was too tired to stand. Her uniform was torn. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. But she was alive. Kim Taiho found her there. "We started a war with the entire galaxy," he said quietly. "A single ship. How does this end?" Park Dory looked at him. Her eyes were old, older than they should be. She had seen too much death. She had lost too many friends. But when she smiled, it was real. "It ends when the galaxy is free," she said. "However long that takes. However much it costs. Humanity has always been stubborn. The sovereignty is about to learn just how stubborn." Across 1,000 worlds, the oppressed heard news of the victory. They whispered the name of the ship that started it all, Sejong, and one by one, they began to rise. The war lasted 47 years. It cost billions of lives. It changed the galaxy forever. But in the end, the sovereignty fell. Not because the Alliance had better weapons. Not because they were stronger or smarter or luckier. They won because they had something the sovereignty never understood. They had hope. They had unity. They had the crazy, stubborn belief that one small ship, one act of defiance, could change everything. The statue that stands in the capital of the Free Galactic Republic shows 3 figures: Admiral Park Dory, Commander Pelly, and Gore of the Tolek, human, Rin, and Tolek, standing together with hands raised toward the stars. The words carved at the base are simple. They told us to kneel. We chose to stand. One ship, one choice. One galaxy forever changed. And somewhere, in a museum on the rebuilt station of New Dawn, the Sejong rests in honor. A small ship that did the impossible. A ship that reminded the galaxy what it means to be free. Every year, beings of 100 species come to see it. They touch its scarred hull. They whisper thanks in languages the crew never knew. And sometimes, late at night, the guards say they hear something. A voice speaking in an old Earth language. Come and take us. The Sejong's final answer to those who would make them kneel. The answer that changed everything.